Have you ever stopped to wonder what truly drives human behavior? Why sometimes we pull together for these incredible feats, you know?
Yeah, and then other times we seem completely locked in fierce rivalry.
Exactly.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how we often see competition and cooperation as like polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
But this deep dive, well, it really reveals a much more intertwined reality. It's way more nuanced.
You got it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an AI-driven scientific study. It's called The Science of Human Competing Instead of Connecting.
Sounds intriguing.
Right. Our mission is basically to pull out the most important insights. You know, how have these forces shaped our history? How do they influence us right now? And crucially, what's the key to our future, especially with AI developing so fast?
So yeah, expect some real aha moments. This could shift how you think about, well, human nature and society itself.
Okay, let's maybe set the stage a bit. When we talk about cooperation,
Hmm.
what do we mean?
Well, it's individuals or groups trusting each other, communicating, sharing for mutual benefit.
Like kids playing, right? Learning to share the blocks, talking about how they'll build the fort together.
Exactly that. And then competition. It's trying to get limited rewards for yourself. Sometimes even, actively working to make it harder for others to succeed.
And you see that everywhere. Markets, sports, politics. It's constant.
But here's the real insight from the study, I think. They're not just opposites on a single line. They're actually mutual necessary, deeply embedded in us.
Mutually necessary. How so?
Well, here's the kicker. Competition, especially between different groups, can massively boost cooperation and productivity within those groups.
Yeah, okay. So like having a common rival makes the team pull together harder.
Precisely. That dynamic, that external rivalry strengthening internal bonds, it's been a consistent driver. Throughout human societal organization and evolution for millennia.
So the implication isn't, let's just get rid of competition. That sounds tricky.
Yeah, maybe not possible, or even desirable, perhaps. The real challenge is figuring out how to channel that competitive energy.
Channel it.
In ways that actually lead to broader cooperation.
Yeah.
And positive outcomes for everyone, collectively.
Right.
And AI offers a totally unique lens here. It's not just a fancy calculator crunching numbers.
Yeah.
No, AI is becoming a tool for what you might call metacognition. It helps us understand how we understand our own behaviors.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Metacognition via AI.
Well, it can process just enormous amounts of information, spot these really intricate patterns that we humans might completely miss. It's like holding up a mirror.
Giving us an objective reflection of our collective habits.
Exactly. Our tendencies, our blind spots sometimes.
You know, it's wild to think about how far back these behaviors go. We're talking millions of years. What does that ancient history tell us about why we're wired this way?
Well, the sheer scale of cooperation among unrelated individuals in human societies, that's actually an evolutionary puzzle. Most social mammals just don't do that.
So what was different for us?
Something called cumulative cultural evolution. That's our unique ability to learn from each other and build upon shared knowledge without needing genes to pass it down. It let us adapt incredibly fast.
Faster than biological evolution alone.
Much faster. And a huge part of this was the role of group competition.
Ah, back to the groups competing.
Right. It became this really powerful selective force because those rapid cultural adaptations led to more differences between social groups, more variation for selection to act upon.
And that created, what did the study call it, a co-evolutionary spiral.
Exactly. Competition between groups drove the evolution of cooperation within them.
Which then made those groups even more competitive.
Leading to more intergroup competition. It's this loop, this spiral. And it helps explain why we have such deep-seated tendencies for both, tribalism and altruism. They grew together.
Okay, so that's the big picture evolutionarily. But what about, inside us, biology, brains?
Yeah, if we zoom in from that broad view, these patterns are quite literally wired into our biology. Our brains have specific neurochemicals.
Like oxytocin.
Oxytocin, yeah, that helps with bonding and cooperation. And testosterone, often associated with competitive drive.
And these aren't unique to humans, right?
Not at all. These chemicals, the systems they're part of, they're largely conserved across many mammals. It just shows how deeply natural selection has shaped these built-in tendencies over vast timescales.
And looking at our brains themselves, I saw something interesting there too.
Yeah, it's really cool. Both cooperation and competition, they light up some of the same core parts of the brain.
The frontoparietal network, executive functions, planning.
Right, and the anterior insula linked to that sort of gut feeling of arousal. but there are differences too.
Okay.
Cooperation seems specifically linked to the orbitofrontal cortex that's associated with feeling socially rewarded. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, cooperation feels good.
And competition tends to involve other areas more, like the inferior parietal and medial prefrontal cortices, maybe more focused on strategy and action.
And what about understanding others?
Ah, yes. This brings up a critical point. Mentalizing. That's our brain's ability to understand and predict what others are thinking or feeling by attributing independent mental states to them.
Like theory of mind.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And that capacity is crucial for both cooperative and competitive strategies. You need to figure out what the other person might do, whether you're trying to help them or outsmart them.
So sophisticated social intelligence is needed for both connecting and competing.
Absolutely. It's a shared prerequisite.
Wow. Okay, and it gets even more foundational when we look at our genes, right?
It does. Studies using quantitative genetics actually show that pro-social behaviors, things like being cooperative, empathetic, civically responsible, they have a significant heritable component.
How significant?
Well, the estimates range pretty widely, but somewhere between, say, 42% and 69%. That's a big chunk.
But it's not all genes, surely.
Oh, absolutely not. And this is where it gets truly fascinating. Behavioral epigenetics.
Okay, epigenetics.
Yeah.
That's how genes are expressed, not the genes themselves.
Exactly. Environmental factors, the psychosocial environment you grew up in, your diet, even parenting styles, they can actually shape how your genes are expressed without changing the underlying DNA sequence.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, a powerful one is prenatal exposure. A mother's stress or mood during pregnancy can actually increase stress reactivity in her child later in life
Yeah.
through increased DNA methylation, an epigenetic mechanism. It basically programs the offspring's stress response system differently.
Wow. So early life can literally nudge you towards being more cooperative or competitive.
It seems so. These patterns can even potentially be passed down across generations epigenetically. But the flip side is encouraging.
Which is?
Improving social environments can positively influence how our more pro-social genes express themselves. It's not deterministic.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What's going on in our minds, psychologically?
Well, our mindsets, whether we approach a situation competitively or cooperatively, really change how things like social comparison affect us.
Social comparison.
Oh,
Like
it's-
looking at how others are doing.
Yeah. If you compare yourself to someone doing better, you're feeling competitive, you might feel bad about yourself. That's a contrast effect.
Right, jealousy or inadequacy.
But if you feel like you're part of the same team, the same community, that same upward comparison can actually make you feel better about yourself. It shifts to assimilation. Their success feels partly like your success,
That mindset shift is powerful.
hugely. And then you have moral emotions, like anger and guilt.
Where do they fit in?
They often stem from social norms, and they get much stronger when groups are competing. Anger, for instance, can be triggered by deception and acts as a sort of threat of punishment.
Don't cheat the group, kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. And guilt makes deception less appealing from the inside. It creates internal discomfort, pushes you to maybe make amends.
It seems like game theory would be useful here.
Absolutely. Game theory provides this really robust mathematical framework for understanding these dynamics, interactions between competing, cooperating agents.
It models players, strategies, payoffs, information.
Right. And it can demonstrate mathematically how cooperation can actually emerge and stabilize, even in situations, these social dilemmas, where individual self-interest might seem to point towards, well, defection or selfishness.
But human decision-making isn't always purely rational calculation, is it?
Far from it. And that raises an important question. What role do emotions play? Are they just irrational noise? Or could it be that emotions and even social biases aren't necessarily irrational in the long run? Maybe they're evolved mechanisms
Mechanisms for what?
to promote long-term cooperative relationships or group survival, even if it means a short-term individual cost. Think about that fundamental human drive for self-betterment, that unidirectional drive upward psychologists talk about.
The need to improve, compare ourselves.
Yeah. The fascinating thing is that drive isn't fixed. It's malleable. We can channel it towards competitive striving or towards cooperative improvement, depending on the prevailing mindset.
Okay, so we've got the evolution, the biology, the psychology. How does this actually play out in the grand sweep of history in societies?
Well, you see examples everywhere of civilizations thriving by harnessing both forces, right?
Like the European Renaissance, all those collaborative networks of artists, thinkers.
Absolutely. But also something like the space race intense competition between nations driving incredible leaps in science and technology.
And even way back, early human societies, hunter-gatherers, the first agricultural civilizations.
They relied on massive cooperative efforts just to survive. Building irrigation systems, hunting large game, defending the group. None of that happens without deep cooperation.
But it's not always the same balance, is it?
Not at all. That's the crucial takeaway here. The balance isn't static, it's incredibly dynamic.
It just shifts based on what? Resources, threat.
Exactly. Resource availability, external threats, shared goals. Societies are constantly reassessing, adjusting this balance between competition and cooperation to stay adaptive, to stay resilient.
And culture must play a massive role in shaping that balance.
Huge. Think about individualistic cultures like the US, much of Western Europe. They tend to prioritize personal goals, self-interest, individual achievement.
Leading to more competitive behaviors generally.
Generally, yes. On the flip side, you have collectivist cultures, common in many Asian, Middle Eastern, African societies, where the emphasis is more on group harmony, interdependence, community well-being.
And that fosters more conformity to group norms, maybe more cooperation within the group.
That's the tendency, and it highlights how culture shapes not just our external actions, but our internal self-concept, our motivations. So you can't just have a one-size-fits-all solution for promoting cooperation.
Interventions have to be culturally sensitive.
They really do. Otherwise, they just won't stick, or worse, they could backfire.
Unfortunately, though, when competitive systems go unchecked, we often see big problems emerge, like social stratification, economic inequality.
Right. And it's important to see this not just as a collection of individual successes and failures, but as a systemic issue. It arises from how society itself is structured.
What drives that?
A lot of factors. Globalization, technological change like automation, persistent biases in wages, gender, race, and of course, huge disparities in education and opportunity.
And the consequences of that extreme inequality.
They're pretty grim, honestly. Higher rates of health problems, social problems, lower overall life satisfaction across the population, even potentially reduced economic growth in the long run.
It sounds like it can create a really negative spiral.
It can. It breeds this deep sense of hopelessness, discontent, which unfortunately can be easily exploited by populist figures.
Worsening political polarization.
Yeah, and potentially threatening democratic norms and institutions. We also see things like victim mentality or even competitive victimhood emerge, where groups compete over who has suffered more.
Which makes resolving conflicts almost impossible.
Exactly. It blocks reconciliation.
Let's touch on a difficult aspect here. The human tendency sometimes to break rules, even to try and, well, eliminate other cultures or groups.
It's a dark side, definitely. Aggression is often a means to gain control over resources, territory, power. And things like high population density can exacerbate that.
And it's not just physical violence, is it?
No, there's also what scholars call cultural violence. Things like sexism, ethnocentrism, racism, colonial ideologies. These systems of belief devalue entire groups of people.
They provided justification for aggression.
Exactly. A rationalization for domination and oppression. And this stuff can become deeply ingrained in a culture, causing harm that lasts for generations, sometimes provoking direct violence in response.
But we also have our human smarts, right? Our cognitive abilities. How do they fit in?
They're absolutely crucial. Learning, understanding, reasoning, pattern recognition, problem solving, language, all essential for navigating complex social dilemmas.
For cooperation, you need coordination, strategy.
Definitely. But those same smarts can also be turned towards deception, manipulation, planning sophisticated competitive strategies.
So back to that mentalizing ability, understanding others' minds.
It's that double-edged sword again. Enables brilliant cooperation, but also incredibly sophisticated competitive tactics, sometimes harmful ones.
So what does this all mean? Just making people smarter isn't the answer.
Not necessarily. Higher intelligence doesn't automatically guarantee pro-social behavior. Our education systems, our societal norms, they have to actively guide these cognitive skills.
Towards cooperative, inclusive ends.
Yes, and actively challenge those rationalizations we sometimes create for harmful competition.
Okay, let's bring AI back into the picture more directly. How does it help us understand all this complexity?
Well, this is where AI truly shines with its advanced analytical power. It can process these immense data sets of human interaction.
Finding patterns we'd miss?
Subtle, complex patterns, yeah. Recognizing them, generating insights, evaluating potential outcomes for better decision-making. It's incredibly powerful for modeling complex social systems.
Like enhancing game theory simulations.
Exactly. Simulating scenarios with competing and cooperating agents, predicting how things might play out under different conditions.
So this capability, it shifts the focus from just blaming individuals to looking at the system.
That's a key point. AI's ability to model complexity and analyze huge data sets helps us see the subtle patterns, the feedback loops, the emergent properties that drive whether we compete or cooperate, things that might otherwise just be invisible.
And that gives us a real basis for designing better interventions.
An empirical basis, yes. For social policies, for interventions that actually tackle the root causes, not just the symptoms we see on the surface.
How does AI relate to understanding our own intelligence?
Well, AI tech simulates aspects of human learning, comprehension, problem solving. But humans, we still have the edge in things like deep contextual understanding, emotional intelligence, genuine creativity.
So it's about collaboration, human AI teaming.
That's where the real potential lies. Leveraging the distinct strengths of both to enhance our human capacities. See it already with things like RLHF, reinforcement learning with human feedback. AI learns from us.
Like my video recommendations.
Sort of, yeah. AI adapts based on human input and preferences.
And I heard about new frontiers. Artificial social intelligence. Artificial theory of mind.
Right, ASI and ADAM. These are emerging fields where AI is being specifically designed not just to process data about social interactions, but to actually understand human emotions, social cues.
To foster teamwork, connection.
That's the goal. It implies a future where AI could actively help guide humanity towards more cooperative pathways, not by taking over, but by augmenting our own social intelligence.
Let's talk about the impacts then. On individuals, communities, competition can be rough.
It really can. Relentless competition can lead to negative self-evaluation, feelings of inadequacy, sometimes outright egoism.
But cooperation.
Cooperation feels good, like we said. Cooperative play in childhood is crucial. Teaches collaboration, trust, how to resolve conflicts. And for adults, strong cooperative networks means social support, better mental health.
And societally, we touched on inequality.
Yeah, that extreme inequality from unchecked competition, it breeds that discontent, that hopelessness. It creates fertile ground for populist figures who might exploit those feelings.
Undermining democracy.
It's a real risk. It increases political polarization and can seriously erode trust in democratic systems.
There was that striking example in the study about framing a game.
Ah, yes. Calling the exact same interaction a Wall Street broker game versus a community game.
And it completely changed how people played.
Significantly altered participant behavior. Just changing the name, the framing, tapped into different mindsets, competitive versus cooperative.
And that knowledge,
Yep.
it could be misused.
Absolutely. Leaders could use that kind of understanding to manipulate situations, to justify policies that actually worsen inequality, framing it as just the way things are.
And the environment. We have to talk about that.
We absolutely do. Our human competition for resources fueled by population growth, economic expansion, just sheer overconsumption, pollution, deforestation. It's causing massive global environmental damage.
What was that statistic? Our demand versus Earth's capacity?
Humanity's current demand on Earth's ecosystems exceeds its regenerative capacity by an estimated 70%.
70%.
We're living on ecological credit. We are. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, the pursuit of individual or corporate profit, especially in developed nations, often pushes the environmental costs, the externalities, onto nature itself and onto marginalized communities.
Creating a systemic ecological deficit.
It's a clear lose-lose scenario in the long run. Unchecked competition with each other and this sort of competitive stance towards nature itself, it's ultimately self-defeating.
Which brings us to morality. How do we define right and wrong in this complex picture?
Well, there are many ethical theories, of course, but one interesting perspective is the morality as cooperation theory.
Morality as cooperation.
The idea is that moral norms actually evolved specifically to solve problems of cooperation, to help us navigate those non-zero-sum games where we can create more value together than we could alone.
Like baking a bigger pie instead of just fighting over slices.
Exactly. And this theory predicts that certain cooperative behaviors will generally be seen as morally good across cultures. Helping your family, being loyal to your group, reciprocity, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, bravery, showing respect, fairness. These all facilitate cooperation.
But moral judgments do vary across cultures.
Oh, definitely. Views on things like polygamy, food taboos, they differ widely. But some actions seem almost universally rejected, like the deliberate killing of innocent children.
But there's still that tension. Morality often applies within the group.
That's a key point. Moral systems often regulate interactions brilliantly inside the group, but they're not always consistently applied to outsiders, to the other.
So how should societies respond to harmful competition, to aggression?
Well, we need tolerance, sure, accepting things we disagree with. But tolerance doesn't mean passively accepting harm.
So what then?
Interventions are needed. Things like bystander intervention, encouraging people to recognize injustice and become upstanders, not just bystanders.
And restorative justice.
Yes, that's another important approach. It focuses on repairing the harm done, involving victims, offenders, the community, encouraging accountability, making amends, and ideally reintegrating offenders.
And for individuals who are actively promoting harmful competition, not just rule breakers, but system abusers.
The approach should ideally be non-aggressive and instructive. Focus on reducing their access to victims, establishing really clear norms and consequences, fostering accountability, but also promoting reintegration where possible, rather than just focusing solely on punishment.
The challenge is telling the difference. Healthy competition versus harmful aggression.
It's a huge challenge. Distinguishing between healthy, rule-bound competition that pushes us forward and harmful, unbridled aggression that tears us down.
Okay, so after unpacking all of this, what can we actually do? How do we cultivate more connection, build a more prosperous future?
It really has to start with fostering holistic human development right from the beginning.
What does that look like? The best possible scenario for raising kids.
It means nurturing every aspect of their growth. Cognitive, physical, sociocultural, emotional, mental, even spiritual, depending on your framework.
Any specific examples? Best practices?
Oh, tons. Parental engagement is huge. Just talking with kids, reading daily, encouraging cooperative play, because that's where they learn trust, conflict resolution, patience.
Exposing them to different cultures?
Absolutely. Creating emotionally safe environments where they feel secure. Implementing social-emotional learning, SEL, activities in schools, and, maybe most importantly, modeling empathy ourselves.
And beyond childhood, what about leadership and governance?
We desperately need to promote cooperative governance and leadership. An ideal political culture would actively prioritize cooperative values and democratic principles when selecting leaders.
What does cooperative governance do?
It guides a collective vision, it facilitates shared decision-making, it ensures accountability. We need leaders who are fundamentally honest, competent, visionary, yes, but also inspirational in a way that commits people to collective action for the common good.
I've heard this term co-opetition.
Yes, it's a fantastic concept, reframing traditional competition. Businesses or even nations might compete aggressively in some areas, like product innovation.
But collaborate in others.
Exactly. Collaborate on things like industry safety standards or environmental protection or pre-competitive research. The goal shifts from just winning a bigger slice of the existing pie to actually working together to grow the value of the whole pie for everyone.
Leadership style must be critical there.
Absolutely. Cooperative leadership is more facilitative, it's democratic, it focuses on tapping into collective wisdom and prioritizing collective well-being. Less top-down command, more enabling collaboration.
And AI again. You mentioned AI-enabled solutions for connection.
Right. AI can model those complex social behaviors we talked about and help us design really targeted interventions. AI systems that are tuned into human emotional and cognitive needs are already showing results: improved collaboration, better productivity in teams.
Can AI challenge harmful norms?
Potentially, yes. By analyzing the underlying structures of social norms that might perpetuate violence or harmful competition, AI could help us identify them and maybe find ways to challenge or change them.
But so just to summarize AI's potential role here.
Okay, concisely. Data analysis to identify drivers of conflict or cooperation. Predictive modeling to optimize resource allocation or forecast policy impacts. Simulation to test strategies safely. Designing personalized interventions, ensuring ethical AI development so recommendations are fair, and even communication, creating content that promotes empathy and understanding. It's a toolkit.
A powerful toolkit. Finally, though, reconnecting with nature. We talked about the deficit.
We have to end here, I think. Our current competitive, consumptive behaviors are fundamentally violating nature's finite capacity to regenerate. That 70% overshoot is unsustainable.
It seems like our competitive drive applied to nature is backfiring spectacularly.
That's exactly it. What's fascinating and sobering is that our drive, when applied without restraint to the natural world, is ultimately self-defeating. Achieving that balanced universe, that prosperous human cultural society, it absolutely requires a fundamental shift
From competition with nature.
to cooperation with nature,
Yeah.
a symbiotic relationship. We have to recognize deep down that our well-being is completely, inextricably linked to the health of this planet.
So wrapping this all up, what does this deep dive really mean for you listening right now?
Well, it shows our nature isn't just one thing or the other, right? It's this profound, dynamic interplay. Competition and cooperation, shaped so deeply by our evolution and our culture.
And AI, it's not just a tool for analysis.
No, it emerges as this potential partner, maybe, in our social evolution, offering insights we've never had before, helping us consciously steer towards more cooperative, more sustainable futures by augmenting our own intelligence.
So it's not about killing competition.
Not at all. It's about understanding it deeply,
Mm-hmm.
understanding its mechanisms, learning how to channel it constructively.
Within a bigger picture.
A broader framework, yeah. One of pervasive cooperation, mutual respect, and just a profound recognition of our global interdependence with each other and with the planet.
Which leaves a question for you, our listener.
How can you take this understanding and use it? How can you foster more connection, maybe in your own life, your family, your community, even the systems you're part of?
What small shifts can you make?
Yeah, what small shifts can start channeling that powerful competitive energy towards collective well-being and towards harmony with the natural world? Something to think about.
This is DigitView.